Okay, here we are in the kitchen. Already today, I've made 6 quarts of a white bean and sausage soup. I forgot to turn on the camera, or I would have taken you along with me. But I know we're going to finish this real quick, so later on in the winter when I resupply that one, I'll make a video on that one. It's very, very good. But what we're going to do today is, out of this book, we're going to make Southwestern vegetable soup. So I've gotten most everything all chopped up, all kind of ready to go. I'm not much of a radical rebel canner, but in this one I am going to change things up just a little bit from what is listed on the ingredients side of this. So bear with me here. Okay, so they're talking about kernels of corn and they're talking about whole cobs. This is not corn season anymore. We're done with that. So I have plenty of frozen kernels that I just pulled out of the freezer, and we're going to use those. So in they go. There we go. Now it does call for lots of peppers. Let me see. It calls for red bell pepper, green bell pepper, and banana peppers. I didn't grow any banana peppers this year, but I still have, this is fresh, the red one. One of my last ones from the garden. In addition, I do have a beautiful yellow bell pepper that I picked out of my garden, plus some green peppers that were actually frozen. So those are all going to go in. And I'm not using fresh, but I am using frozen that were fresh from my garden. Then it calls for carrots, and sliced up carrots about 1/4 of an inch. I think it calls for 1 cup of carrots. And the carrots weren't from my garden either. Those are all preserved already. 2 medium onions. These are from my garden, and all diced up. And then it also calls for some jalapenos. Now, I just finished up my jalapenos, and so I dried a bunch of them. So what I did is I just rehydrated some jalapeno peppers. I think it called for about 2 of them. I usually take the seeds out of mine, so they aren't quite as hot. Okay, another thing it called for is tomatillos. I didn't grow tomatillos this year, but what I did do is I made some salsa verde last year with my tomatillos. So I'm just going to put in a whole pint of my salsa verde. Okay. Then it calls for tomato products. I still have some tomatoes that are frozen in my freezer, but I've decided not to use those. I have another plan for those. So I took some jars that were left over from 23, last year, and it calls for some diced tomatoes. So I'm putting in 1/4 of diced tomatoes. And it also calls for 1.5 quarts of tomato juice. This is tomato juice that I extracted from my tomatoes last year. And that's not quite 1.5 quarts, so I think I'm going to just, I'm going to add some powdered tomato skins, and that'll go in here to bump that tomatoey flavor up. Calls for 1 cup of water. So here's my tomato powder. I usually save my skins and then dehydrate them and then grind them up. And it creates a very aromatic, intensely tomatoey flavor that I usually add to soups and stews when I want an extra boost to that lovely tomato-ness. So I'm going to put in, I think, 3 heaping tablespoons. So that should up it. And along with that, I'll add another cup of water, and that should be enough to get me up to the 1.5 quarts of tomato juice. Now, for seasonings, it calls for salt, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a teaspoon of black pepper, and 2 teaspoons of chili powder. And this is where you can get kind of creative. If you like a really hot soup, and that's what this is going to be, put in more chili powder, or put in more jalapenos, or whatever you wish. Now, one thing this recipe doesn't call for is garlic. I don't know why. Everybody needs garlic. So I'm going to put in some of my powdered garlic. This is garlic from, I think last year. It's not a fresh one. I didn't want to chop up more garlic. Anyway, so powdered garlic it is, about a tablespoon I put in. Next is hot sauce. Now, I have some traditional hot sauce, but I thought I would do some of my homemade hot sauce. This is from my Sugar Rush Peach hot sauce that I make with those peppers. They are absolutely wonderful. Now, this is pretty hot, so I'm not going to go, it calls for 4. I think maybe I will just go 2. I'll just go 2. And then, because when this comes out of the jar, you can always add more heat to it. Or you can always add more spice. If you like a little bit more herbs, you can put some Italian herbs in there, oregano or something like that. But the big herb that's going to go in here is cilantro. Now, I have a hard time growing cilantro. It does not grow in the summer because it's too hot. I usually get a crop in early spring, and then if I can, I'll get another one in the fall. It didn't do well for me in the fall. I picked up a cilantro plant at the grocery store, at the market, and I plopped it in a pot, and it's growing fine. It has not yet started to sprout, so I'm just going to chop off some, and it calls for a couple of tablespoons, I think. Yeah, it calls for 3 tablespoons of cilantro. So I'm just going to chop those up. Now, I find the pressure cooker really kills a lot of these fresh herbs. So if when you decide to open your jar and have this, taste it, see if it needs anything else, or just leave out these herbs and just add them when you open the jar and heat. This is going to go on the stove. We're going to bring it to a simmer and simmer it for 15 minutes, and then we're going to jar it up. So let me get this on the heat. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? The colors are just gorgeous. And we're going to bring this to a boil, and then we'll get to jar it up. Okay, 15 minutes is up. It's simmered, and it's looking great. And I even took a little taste. It's not too hot. And one thing about when you can is is keeping it acidic, and by that we have the tomatoes in here. Also have the hot sauce in here, which has vinegar in it, which is acidic. So it keeps the acid high. And another thing about substituting is keeping all of your products in here at the same size. So the corn kernels are the same size, the peppers are the same size, the carrots are the same size, the onions are the same size. Keep them all the same size, and it will be able to process in your canner just perfectly. So let me get my jars out, and we're going to jar this up and get it in the pressure canner. All right, I have 6 jars here. The recipe, I think, called for 4 quarts, but I put in a few more. I don't think that I'm going to be able to fill 6, but we'll see how far it gets me. So you're going to take and fill all of your jars to within 1 inch of headspace. Always debubble, because all the vegetables could trap some air in there, and you want the right amount of headspace, which is 1 inch. Believe it or not, I have a scant tablespoon left in here. So 5 quarts, that will be wonderful. Now, a little vinegar wipe around each rim. Now, into the canner they go. Okay, standard procedure, let the steam vent from this hole for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to put the top on there, and that will help the pressure build. And in my elevation, it is 10 pounds of pressure. According to the recipe book, we're going to process this in the canner for 1 hour and 25 minutes. It's going to take a while, a little bit longer than an hour and 25 minutes, but thank goodness it's only going to be just a second. Canner is all done. I let it cool down just a bit before I took the lid off, and here we go. Yummy. There we go. I have another 5 jars of a Southwestern stew, plus 6 jars of white bean sausage soup. And so I'm very happy to be able to put this on my pantry shelves for future meals in the wintertime. So I hope you will enjoy the new content of my channel as I'm getting into a different season. Not much gardening to go on as the winter is upon us. So thanks for coming along on this video. And until the next time that we can go, well, not digging in the dirt, but cooking and canning in the kitchen. Bye.